Hi everyone, it's Mr. Harbottle here, ready to read you some more stories. In fact, we're at the final chapter of The Owl Who Was Afraid of the Dark. Now, you might notice that the lighting is a little bit different because actually I'm filming this at night. You'll see why in the chapter. But just a reminder why I'm reading this. This was a book that was read to me when I was your age at primary school. It's a book that I remember really, really well because my teacher was a great story reader too. I hope that you've been enjoying my story reading. I've had some lovely comments on class dojos and on YouTube, the little comments that have been sent across for different things, and email and lots of other messages and Twitter and other things. So thank you so much for all the positive things you said about the stories that I've read. I'm hoping I can fit some more in, but we don't know. I might be called into school soon and I'll be able to see some of you then. But I'm hoping to keep going, recording them, and maybe make this a big thing over the summer holidays. Let's see what happens. But the last chapter of this book by Jill Tomlinson, and this chapter, well, this chapter is called Dark is Wonderful. "That was nice," said Plop when he had gulped down what his father brought. "What was it?" "A shrew," said his father. "I like shrew," said Plop. "What's next?" "A short pause," said Mrs. Barnow. "Let your poor daddy get his breath back." "All right," said Plop, "but do hurry up." "Daddy, shrews are nice, but they're not very big, are they? This one feels very lonely all by itself at the bottom of my tummy. It needs company." "I don't believe there is a bottom to your tummy," said his father. "No matter how much I put into it, it's never full." "Oh well, I suppose I'd better go and hunt for something else to cast into that bottomless pit." "That's what fathers are for," said Plop. "Wouldn't you like to go hunting too, Mummy? It would be a nice change for you." "Thank you very much," said Mrs. Barnow. "What you really mean is that you won't have to wait so long between your courses, but I will certainly go if you don't mind being left." "Why don't you come with us?" said his father. "Then you won't have to wait at all." Plop looked around at the creeping darkness. "No thank you, Daddy," he said. "I have some remembering to do." "Righty-o," said Mr. Barnow. "Ready, dear?" Plop's parents took off together side by side, their great white wings almost touching. Plop sat outside the nest hole and watched them drift away into the darkness until they melted into each other and then disappeared altogether. It took quite a long time because the stars were coming out, and Plop could see a long way by their light with his owl eyes. He remembered what his mother had said about dark never being black. It certainly wasn't black today. It was more of a misty grey, and the sky was pricked all over with tiny stars. "Drat!" said a voice from somewhere below Plop. Plop started and peeped down through the leaves. There was a man with some sort of contraption set up in front of him, standing there scowling up at the cloud that had hidden the moon. What was he doing? Plop shut his eyes, took a deep breath, and, join with me, fell off the branch. He shot through the air like a white streak and landed with a soft bump. "Heavens!" said the man. "A shooting star!" "Actually, I'm a bar now," said the shooting star. "What's that thing you've got there?" "Oh, a telescope," said the man. "A bar now, did you say? Well, well, I thought you were a meteor. How do you do?" "How do I do what?" said Plop. "Oh, you know what I mean. How are you?" "Hungry," said Plop. "I thought you said I was a shooting star, not a meteor." "A meteor is a shooting star." "Oh," said Plop. "What is the television for?" "Telescope. For looking at things like the stars and the planets." "Oh, can I have a look, please?" "Of course," said the man, "but it's not a very good night for it, I'm afraid. Too cloudy." "I don't like the dark very much," said Plop. "Really?" said the man. "How very odd. You must miss such a lot. Dark is wonderful." "Tell me," said Plop, "please." "I'll do better than that. I'll show you," the man said. "Come, put your ear here. No, not that end. This end." Plop had jumped up, scuttled around the telescope, and was now peering backwards between his feet into the wrong end. "I can't see anything," he said. "You surprise me," said the man. "Try this end." Plop wobbled back around the telescope, and the man supported him on his wrist so that his eye was level with the eyepiece. "Now, can you see anything?" "Oh, yes," said Plop. "It makes everything come nearer, doesn't it? I can see a bright, bright star, but that must be very near." "Yes, just 54 million miles away, that's all." "Million?" gasped Plop. "Yes, that's Sirius, the dog star. You're quite right. It is one of the nearest." Obviously, millions and millions was nothing to a man with a telescope. "Why is it called the dog star?" asked Plop. "Because it belongs to Orion, the great hunter. Look, there he is. Can you see those 3 stars closely together?" Plop drew his head back from the telescope and blinked. "Can I change eyes?" he said. "This one's getting tired." "Yes, of course. Now, see if you can find the great hunter. He has 3 stars close together." 3 stars close together, did you say?" "Yes, that's his belt. And some fainter stars behind him." "Yes, that's his sword." "I've got him!" shouted Plop. "I've got Orion, the great hunter. Oh, I never knew stars had names. Show me some more." "Well, we'll see if you can find the pole star, shall we? Hang on, I have to swing the telescope round for that." Plop had a ride on the telescope, and when the man showed him how to find the plough and the 2 stars pointing straight up to the pole star. "That's the bright one too, isn't it?" said Plop. "Yes, there. Now you can find that. You need never get lost because that star is directly over the North Pole, so you'll always know where north is." "Is that important?" said Plop. "Very important," said the man. "Heavens, what was that?" An eerie, long-drawn shriek had torn the peace of the night. "Oh dear, I expect that's my daddy," said Plop. They looked up. A ghostly, nearly fell over that word, ghostly, whitish form circled above them. "Yes, it is. I'd better let him know I'm here." "Eek!" "Oh," said the man, jumping, "you should warn people when you're going to do that. You know, I've often wondered what that noise was. Now I shall know it is only you and your father." "Or my mother," said Plop. "I really must go. Thank you very, very much for teaching me about the stars." And he hopped onto the telescope and bowed his funny little bow. "Goodbye." "Goodbye, Master Barnow. Good stargazing." Plop flew up to join his father, and together they landed on the landing branch. "Well," said Plop's mother, "the man with the telescope says dark is wonderful, and he called me Master Barnow, and what do you think, Plop?" "I know what I think," said Mr. Barnow, not giving Plop a chance to reply. "I think Master Barnow has got a bit of cheek to send his poor parents on an absolutely urgent search for food, and then not bother to be here when they get back. I thought you were supposed to be starving." "I am starving," said Plop. "But did you know that the dog star is 54 million miles away? Do you want your dinner or not?" "Oh, yes," said Plop. He gulped down what his father had brought, and then he gobbled down what his mother had brought, and not only did he not ask what it was that he had eaten, but he didn't even say, "What's next?" What he did say was, "Daddy, did you know how to find the pole star? Shall I show you?" "By all means," said Mr. Barnow, giving his wife a slow wink. "Anything that can take your mind off your tummy like this must be worth seeing." Plop would not rest, and so neither could Mr. or Mrs. Barnow, until he had made quite sure that they could recognise all the stars which the man with the telescope had shown him. He was still at it until about 4 o'clock in the morning. "Now, are you quite sure you understand about the pole star?" he said to his mother, who seemed to be a bit dense about it. "I think so," yawned Mrs. Barnow. "You find the thing that looks like a plough, but it's actually a big bear, or is it a small bear? And then the pole star is near the North Star." "The pole star is the North Star," Plop said impatiently, "and the two stars at the front of the plough point to it. I don't think you're really trying. You haven't been listening, have you?" "Oh, we have," said Mr. Barnow. "We have been listening for hours and hours. I think perhaps Mummy is just a little bit tired." "But you must know how to find the pole star," said Plop, "or you might get lost." "I never get lost," said his father indignantly, "and neither does your mother. Now, be a good chap and go into the nest hole, and I'll see if I can find you something nice for your supper. You can have it in bed for once, "Oh, all right," said Plop, "but I really do feel you should know about these things. I'll have to try and explain again tomorrow." Mr. Barnow turned to his wife in horror. "Oh, no, not tomorrow night as well. I can't stand it." "Never mind, dear," said Mrs. Barnow soothingly. "You haven't had to do nearly as much hunting as usual." "I'm not at all sure that all this stargazing isn't much more wearing than filling that bottomless pit," groaned Mr. Barnow. "Oh, Daddy!" Plop put his head out of the nest hole. "Did I tell you about Orion? Orion is the great hunter, and oh, he's gone." "Yes, dear, he must be finishing his hunting before it gets light," said his mother. "Now, you get back in there, and mind you wash behind your ears properly. I'm coming to inspect you in a minute." So Plop had his supper in bed, and then, like a real night owl, he slept right through all the daylight hours. We've got one more chapter. I thought that was the last one. Actually, there's one more. So I'll see you next time. Bye for now.